think teaching and learning strategies are really important in the classroom, especially in a practical setting, especially with girls. It's not just about what you're teaching, it's how you get the message across.
Priesthorpe is a specialist sports college in Leeds. In the last 2 years, it's seen a 6% rise in the number of girls doing curriculum PE and a 12% rise in those taking part in after-school sport. This programme looks at the teaching and learning strategies used to improve girls' engagement in PE lessons and motivate them to learn. Assessment for learning, team teaching and the use of ICT are all key to Priesthorpe's innovative approach.
Assessment for learning comprises of a number of different strands. It looks at objective-led lessons. In other words, the objectives of learning are set at the start of the lesson so the students know what they are trying to learn, and those objectives are looked at in a plenary at the end. It comprises also of questioning techniques, of oral and written feedback to the students, and of peer assessment when the students are working together.
What follows is a more detailed analysis of how PE teachers at Priesthorpe are putting the numerous strands of assessment for learning into practice. PE teachers Jo Graham and Pam Nicholas are working together to team teach some of their lessons.
There's various ways that we do team teaching. Me and Jo have been team teaching together now all term.
Team teaching is helping me as a teacher in terms of my own professional development. I've only been teaching myself for 3 years, so it's really nice to work with other members of the department who are more experienced than myself. Right, Pam,
Today they're planning how to team teach a Year 9 group who will be doing rhythmic gymnastics for the first time.
We found that girls were being turned off by gymnastics in Year 9, so we thought we would experiment with something slightly different. So we started teaching rhythmic gymnastics, very basic movements with ribbons, hoops and balls. They do particularly like dance and the aesthetic side of PE.
It's quite nice to be able to sit down and discuss what we're going to do in the lesson beforehand, so we get a general idea, and sometimes a different point of view of teaching the same skill is really nice, and it can help you expand your knowledge and also make for a really good lesson. So, the objectives that we've got down on our plan, all students will know how to perform at least 3 basic ribbon moves.
Right.
All students will know and understand the difference between an arabesque and a passé balance.
Right.
We're going to start off by doing a warm-up, okay? We've done lots of warm-ups before. We all know how to warm each other up. So you're going to lead the warm-up. So who would like to lead the warm-ups?
We try and get students to lead the warm-ups, and we begin that in Year 7 and work through. By the time we get into Year 9, we will often ask students to lead warm-ups in order for them to take on the role of the official or the coach or the teacher, which is one important part of the national curriculum within PE.
Are we going to split the group in half then and take half each to do the skills?
I think we start all this off as a full group, but we sort of, obviously between us, say, I'll concentrate on feedback in this half of the group, you feedback to the other half of the group.
Yeah, do it like that.
We've looked at splitting the group in half and differentiating the more able and the less able. One group working with the more able and one of us working with the less able.
So, this is your ribbon. Everyone's going to get 1 ribbon each.
We're then going to introduce them to ribbons and give them a taste of the basic moves of coils and snakes, etc.
All you do is you get the ribbon and you get the stick, and you must hold the stick at the end. So all you're going to do is try and get the ribbon going in what we call a ribbon coil. What part of my body is moving? Hands up. My wrist. And that makes it move.
In terms of the actual lesson today, it was mainly command style, in that we were stood at the front giving demonstrations to the students and then asking them to copy what we were doing.
Nice circular movement.
We're then going to get them to experiment with the movements, involving them working on different types of balancing and some form of locomotion.
All you're going to do is you keep your arm nice and extended, okay? You're using your whole arm, your shoulder again, and you're coming from either side of the body. Okay, so it makes a nice figure of 8 shape. Around the body, meeting in the middle in front. Arms nice and straight.
Then when we let them go on further to do their sequence work, again, it's more trial and error by the students.
What must every sequence have? I haven't put it on the board because we should know. Good, and then position.
They're trying to perfect their own sequences by learning what they can and cannot do in terms of their own ability. Okay, so looking for start and end position and those things in any order you want on your own. Okay, you haven't got long, literally 5 minutes. Have a go.
Amy, try out. Right.
We went round and provided feedback for each of the girls and tried to help them or suggested other movements that they might be able to do. A particular student was quite talented at gymnastics. For example, we'd have asked them to do a one-handed cartwheel.
Good. Not bad at all.
If we thought they weren't quite so able, we'd just be asking them to look at doing forward rolls and really basic formal gymnastic movements.
Yeah, that's not bad. And then when you get into that position, you might be able to bring it over your head.
Differentiation happens in lessons all the time, but team teaching enables us to differentiate and concentrate more on specific groups of students. When we team teach, we are able to spend even more time with different types of students who are performing at different levels.
Excellent.
Team teaching is really important in PE. You can bring a lot more variety to a session, so it's very, very useful. We find that girls tend to work faster. So if you've got a number of teachers that are going to be in the session, that gives chance for those girls to go and break out into smaller groups where they can learn faster.
At the end of the lesson, we look at what's gone on in the lesson, try and make sure that we understand what students have learnt from the lesson, and to hopefully see that the students have understood the techniques involved in performing basic ribbon movements aesthetically.
Which of the two balances did you learn today? One of them? A passe, good. And an arabesque, excellent. Okay, what I would like you to do is remember what you've learned for next week. You've done really, really well for your first lesson. So if you can go get yourself changed, that would be excellent.
The focus of the team teaching is the feedback that the staff are giving to the pupils. But in order for them to become more aware of what it is that they're actually saying, how important their feedback is, we've asked members of staff to observe each other.
Right, how do you think that went? I thought it went really well. The girls responded really well to the tasks that we set in the lesson. They enjoyed using the ribbons to help them improve their basic gymnastic skills.
As well as feeding back to each other, they're also working on improving their feedback to pupils.
We've just started to look at feedback and how we feed back to the pupils, what questions we use, what techniques we use to try and get feedback from the pupils. Is our feedback constructive? Is it criticism? We're going to have a go at developing our feedback to make sure that we're possibly giving the best that we can to the students, and that's all part of the assessment for learning at Priesthorpe.
Assessment for learning at Priesthorpe also extends to the classroom, where IT is being used to encourage pupils to feed back to one another and reflect upon their own performances. In 2004, GCSE dance was introduced to the curriculum.
All right, so you need to open your books, please. Have a look at the work we started on space. This is a GCSE dance lesson. They're always made up of an hour's theory and an hour's practical. Sometimes the theory lesson's slightly shorter because we want to get into the gym and practice what we've been writing about. Today we're looking at space, and there's 10 different areas of space that they need to cover. What's the one after that? Dimension and plane. So they're the two things that we're going to look at today, okay? And they're going to learn about 3 different types of planes. So height, up and down, width, side to side, depth, front and back. So we've got what the dancer's doing, how the dancer's doing it. What do you think that space is? Excellent, where the dancer's doing it. So we've looked at how, what, and this is where, okay? So this is just basically saying all the different directions that the dancer can use, where they can actually move on the stage or in their area they're using. Once we've been in the classroom and been through all the notes and drawn the diagrams and discussed what each area means, we'll then go into the gym and they will put that area into practice in their dances. So hopefully when we go in the gym this afternoon, you should see them recapping work that they've done on personal and general space and invading each other's space using angular and circular movements. So from that bit there, from your last shape, circular and angular, you need to start working on this extroversion bit. Okay, so looking for nice, big, bold movements. Today they're going to extend the pieces of work they've done by looking at extroversion and
making up a duet with a partner based around the word, but having to use the 3 planes that we will have discussed within the theory lesson.
I want to see you interacting with each other, not stood side by side doing the same dance. That's not interacting. Interacting would be like action-reaction.
Start by start, like a couple of weeks start.
Of course you can, but I want to see some interaction, because when you come to do your actual piece for the examination, you've got to interact.
In the practical lesson today, the girls will perform their dances at the end of the lesson. It will be videoed, and they will then come and sit round the television and actually watch their own performance. This allows them to provide themselves with their own feedback on their work, and they can see areas of weakness and areas that are excellent that don't need any improving. I think it's a really good idea, and it really does help them to see it visually rather than me just telling them, yeah, that's really good, or that's really nice, but you need to change this bit here. If you can actually show them and point at certain aspects of their dance on the screen, they get the idea of what you're trying to achieve.
Okay, looking for what type of movements you're doing, what, how and where. Okay, that's what you should be writing down. Thinking about how it represents introversion. All those things we brainstormed on the board, are you showing those through your dance?
What we've found with the girls being able to watch each other with using video playback and having feedback from the member of staff is that they've really concentrated on improving their performance levels. Girls in the past have been able to perform in sequence or work with a group of other people and have feedback from the member of staff and maybe from the students themselves, but unless they can see themselves, they're not totally aware of what it is that someone is pointing out.
The whole part of working as a group, Tiffany, is learning to listen to each other, okay? So you're feeding back your feelings and thoughts about your performance. Okay, so just do that in your groups, have a chat. Make sure somebody else might have completely different ideas to you, well, that's going to help you with yours, isn't it? So make sure you each take a turn at saying something good about your dance.
5 good things about my dance is I contracted a lot because I was supposed to be introverted. So I stretched, then came back, and was supposed to be shy.
I thought that you could have moved more smoothly when you were getting up, because I thought it was a little bit rusty, but it was good.
You should have done your moves more slowly because you were using big movements and you were meant to be shy and it didn't show that.
You know, when I was doing my big movements, I found that I was going big and then coming back introverted. That's why I was doing big movements.
I moved slowly and did quick little movements occasionally. I used big movements and then contracted quickly back into small introverted movements.
Contracting, good.
So
you're using contracting movements.
Were you contracting when you were coming out, making big extrovert movements, expanding your body?
Yep.
And then contracting back in to make introverted movements.
That's right, good.
Feedback is really crucial, and a lot of the time girls really value the feedback that they're getting from their teachers, and schools are starting to realise that we do need to be doing it a lot more with girls. We need to make it a culture, especially within PE, that it's perfectly natural to be given praise, and it's really good, and it makes them a much stronger person confidence-wise.
All the techniques that we use, we've found that the girls have responded really well to. We're confidence building with the girls all the time because of the feedback and the praise, and everyone is made to feel as though they have achieved, because no matter how much of a small improvement you can see, it's the fact that they're encouraged to put in the best effort that makes the difference to them.